Hello everyone, this is Kona, and thank you for tuning in for another TF2 tier list. This time it's for Man vs. Machine. Now I wasn't going to do this before, but I really feel that a tier list is needed to rank these classes. There are clearly important classes in MvM and clearly not so good classes in MvM, and also loadouts as well. Just like before, these classes are going to be ranked into 3 levels: top tier, mid tier, and bottom tier. So let's get started with my tier list for Man vs. Machine. Starting with the bottom tier, we have the Sniper. Unfortunately, the Sniper doesn't get much respect. In fact, whenever I play Man Up mode and I join these public servers, usually the Sniper gets kicked. They get vote kicked because I honestly don't trust the Sniper too much to really contribute a lot to the team. Now this gameplay here you're seeing is actually from Karma 199. He is an awesome sniper, and I was actually playing as Scout on this map, and I trusted him. I trusted him to do his job, and he did a great job. Sniper's main job is going to be taking out those medics and taking out those enemy snipers. This map actually had Girardi snipers, and those can get really annoying really fast. So as a sniper, you would want to take out the really high priority targets first, especially Uber medics and snipers. Once they're down, you can start going for other people. Now, I don't really play too much Sniper. In fact, I've never played Sniper because I don't want to be that guy that gets vote kicked on these servers. So I don't play Sniper. But I've seen some interesting strategies with Sniper, like Girardi and stuff. I guess they might work, but I feel that the Sniper is just too specialized. He cannot output enough damage all the time unless you're getting good shots. And if you are, you better be going for high priority targets. Now, unfortunately, the Sniper is going to be very lonely in the bottom tier because he's the only class that I really consider bottom tier. We're going to start off with the mid tier, and first off we have the Spy. Kind of like the Sniper, the Spy is very specialized in his job, but he can do a little bit more. The Spy's main tools are going to be his Sapper and his Knife. Very, very good for combos of just going in, sapping all the robots, and then going in for those instant kills with a knife. Now, the main job of the Spy is going to be taking out those Uber medics. I hope that when people play Man vs. Machine, they start to realize that the medics are the most important class in TF2. At least I think that they're the most important class in TF2. And in Man vs. Machine, this really shows if you don't take care of those Uber medics until the very end, because Uber robots can actually carry the bomb, and you guys probably lost a lot to Uber robots carrying the bomb and dropping it in. Now, you're probably going to be using the Dead Ringer because you can fake your death. You don't really have to go invisible against these robots. But you might actually die for real a lot, and that's okay. These robots have a lot of damage output. As long as you get those medics, it's okay to die. Next in the mid tier, we have the PYRO, and again, this footage is by Dubs. He also played the Spy and also played some other classes too. So thank you very much, Dubs, for helping me out with all this. Now, with the PYRO, it's all about close quarters combat, basically, unless you're the kind of guy who likes to go flare gun, which I do not recommend because doing that is like trolling your team. So get in there with that flamethrower, and I do recommend the default flamethrower. It seems to be the best, really, really high damage output, and the ability to air blast. Now, because you're going to be getting close quarters with these robots, the Uber canteens are really good for keeping you alive. You might not have a medic because medics usually like to go Kritzkrieg, which is good because that's for high damage output. But the PYRO, in order to survive, you're probably going to need some Uber canteens, just in case. It's better if the PYRO survives and does his job, like here, trying to deal with these medics. Now, this is an interesting concept on trying to kill these medics. Dealing with medics is difficult. One way is to instantly kill them, and that is probably the best way. But if you cannot, PYROs are really good for getting in there and popping the medics quickly. The PYRO can also use the air blast. Once the medics are popped, just air blast the medics off the giants, and the giants are no longer a threat. Now, you would think that the PYRO is really good for collecting money, and he sort of is, But that's not really the Pyro's job. It would be too much for the Pyro to ask to be killing people and collecting a bunch of money. So even though you're close quarters and you're probably going to be right next to the money, I recommend that the Pyro just focus on killing, air blasting, all that kind of stuff, especially air blasting giant scouts. They can really slow them down, which is good. Speaking of air blasting, this is a really good way to reset the bomb. Now on this map, this is Coal Town. It's very difficult to reset the bomb because there are only 2 places you can actually do it. But Dubs, being a pro Pyro, manages to do it, so awesome job. Next in the mid-tier is the Heavy. And the Heavy is a bit of a boring class to play, at least for me. He's kind of like the NG, but at least you're moving around a little bit and you have a lot of damage output. That's what the Heavy is really great for. And if you have a dispenser right next to you, the Heavy becomes almost like a second sentry gun. Now in terms for canteens, I like to use the Uber canteens just to stay alive, but you can also use some crit canteens as well because the Heavy has a lot of health. Now what's nice about the Heavy is that when you are shooting crits, there's no damage drop off for how far you are away, and you should keep that in mind when you're trying to do a lot of killing. You notice that I'm only doing about 5 damage at a distance, not so much, but you know, when I really want to get in there and do a lot of damage, I go right up next to them because there is normal bullet or damage drop off when you do not have crits. Now there are some interesting strategies to use while playing as a Heavy. For instance, switch to the Natasha if you want to slow down those giant scouts. Those giant scouts can be a pain to deal with, but if you have a Natasha, and it doesn't even need to be upgraded, just use a Natasha to slow down those super scouts so the rest of your team can deal a lot of damage to them. You can also upgrade your minigun to shoot down projectiles, and this really helps against rapid fire soldiers. In fact, there is a sweet spot. It's around where the rocket launcher is. If you just shoot there from a rapid fire soldier, they will not get a single rocket on you. You will shoot down pretty much every single rocket that a rapid fire soldier shoots, and it basically makes a rapid fire harmless. Next in the mid-tier is the Medic, and the reason why I put the Medic in mid-tier is that this game mode is all about damage output. So if you're going to play as Medic, make sure you're equipped with the Kritzkrieg. That is going to maximize the damage output of the other players on your team. And you can see I'm switching between these 2 guys in order, depending on if they need it or not. Now what's really neat is that you can actually upgrade your Kritzkrieg to share Canteen's powers. Now you'll notice that I did that with that Heavy, and I'll do it with this demo as well. I am healing him, and all I have to do is pop my Uber Canteen, and he gets Ubered as well. And in combination with his Crits Canteen and my Kritzkrieg, we can stay protected and output a lot of damage. Now if you're ever out of Uber, you can always gain it back pretty quickly if you have the Uber Saw. If you use your Uber Saw against Sentry Busters, you're basically getting free damage and free Uber from them because they can't fight back. They'll only explode against sentries. So you can go in there when the Sentry Buster is running in, go in with your Uber Saw, and gain a lot of Uber meter. The last thing I want to mention is something called pre-crits. Before the round starts, I would give the crits and pop it for a Demoman. Demoman can then lay down a bunch of crit stickies before the round starts. So basically you get free crits before the round even starts. And because before the round starts, your Kritzkrieg charges super fast, you don't really have to worry too much about saving this kind of stuff. So go ahead, pop a Kritzkrieg for a Demoman so that he can lay down a bunch of crit stickies because it's gonna help. The last class in the mid-tier is the Soldier. Now the Soldier is he's very generic in terms of TF2, what he can do. But in Man vs. Machine, especially when he's equipped with the Beggar's Bazooka, this class seems almost cheat. It seems almost broken because when you upgrade your Beggar's Bazooka fully, this thing becomes insane. I don't even know why it's still in the game for this mode because it becomes just so insane. In fact, take a look at this. We're about to take out this tank, and look how fast this tank goes down. I pop my crits, almost 400 damage per shot, and it's insane. Look at that. The tank barely got out of the gate, and it's already down. I just couldn't believe how fast we took all this down because we were popping crits, and with this thing, rapid fire 9 to 11. Right now I have 9, but you can actually upgrade it to 11 rockets, and you can fire basically 11 crit rockets all at once. So much damage output. Now it's going to take a while to actually upgrade your Beggar's Bazooka so that it can actually do this, but when you do, especially on the last wave, and if you have enough money, you will feel like a god with this weapon because it just outputs so much damage. I also recommend equipping the buff banner because those mini crits will come in handy. We are now in the top tier and we're starting off with the Engineer. Now, I like to use the Wrangler with the Engineer because with a level 3 sentry and a Wrangler, I can actually shoot outside of the normal range of a sentry gun. And I think that's really critical sometimes because some of these maps, the beginning choke point is very long. And if you wait for the enemy to come to you, it might be a little too late. They might slip by. So you want to equip the Wrangler to make sure that you can output a lot of damage from very far away. Another thing I want to recommend is the instant build canteens. They're going to save you a bunch of time, and they're only 50 bucks a pop, so you might as well spend money on them. If you're in a pinch, you can always put down your stuff, and what's really nice is that you can put down all of your stuff in level 1 and hit the instant build canteen, use it, and everything becomes level 3 as long as it's out. So you don't have to spend one canteen for your dispenser and then one canteen for your sentry gun. Just put your dispenser down and your sentry gun, hit the instant build, and you have both level 3. Now, you're going to be constantly interrupted by sentry busters, but they're really easy to deal with. All you have to do is pick up your sentry gun, run towards the sentry buster, and wherever you two meet, that's where the sentry buster is going to stop and explode. And so you can use that to your advantage and take care of those sentry busters really easily. The last thing I want to mention for Engineer is the dispenser. Now, this map in particular, it actually benefits the Engineer to have the dispenser with him, and that's usually how you think that the Engineer will play, because that's how the Engineer plays in pubs. But on two of the maps, on Decoy and on Coal Town, the dispenser actually is for the other people on your team. So you would actually put the dispenser down somewhere on the floor and you would mount your sentry gun at a higher position. And usually you would mount your sentry gun in a place where there's a full ammo pack. Unfortunately, on this map, Mann works, there's only a medium-sized ammo pack near here, and so I need a dispenser to deal with that kind of stuff. But on other maps where there's a full ammo pack, you might as well put your dispenser down on the floor where your teammates need it, and you as the Engineer can always use the full ammo pack. Next in the top tier is the DEMOMAN, and the reason he's top tier is because his job is to take care of those Uber medics before they pop their Ubers. Now you would think that the giants are the main problem, but a giant without a medic is very easy to deal with. But a giant that's Ubered is almost impossible to deal with. The only real way to deal with them is to go in with a PYRO. So you'll notice here I'm playing as a DEMOMAN, and right now there's Ubered medics coming around the corner. I actually have stickies laid there, and boom, they're gone. That giant is no longer a threat. All we have to do is kill them with crits or mini crits or whatever. Now what I like to do is upgrade my pipe bomb launcher only. I don't actually like to upgrade my sticky bomb launcher because that's really only for the medics. I like to upgrade my pipe bomb launcher because that's the one I'm going to be using to deal a lot of the damage. The thing is with this demo is he doesn't have a whole bunch of health. He only has 175. And so you want something to get those pipe bombs out there, get as much damage as possible out there. And if you're spending too much time trying to, main with your sticky bomb launcher, it's just you might get killed before you have a chance to actually detonate them. So you notice that I'm using this opportunity to lay down some stickies. Once I lay down those stickies, I switch immediately back to my pipe bomb launcher because I can always detonate. These with my pipe bomb launcher out. Now I do want to mention that I've been saying sticky bomb launcher, but I actually like to use a Scottish resistance on Man vs. Machine because a lot of these maps, the giants like to come from multiple directions, and sometimes I want to lay two different clusters for two different clusters of medics, just like that. I can just detonate the right one and leave the left one intact. So that's why I like the Scottish resistance. It's really good for that, and also you can output a lot more stickies than the standard sticky bomb launcher. Even though the DEMOMAN has very little health compared to someone like the Heavy, I still like to equip Crits Canteens, and the reason why is because just in case some medics slip by, because these pipe bombs have so much damage and so much blast damage, if you activate crits and start lobbing some pipe bombs against a cluster of medics, you might actually get all the medics with your crits pipe bomb. So it's a really good, if you're in a pinch, you can use crits canteens combined with your pipe bomb launcher to get a multi-kill on a bunch of medics. The last class in top tier is the Scout. Now the Scout is actually a pretty difficult class to play in Man vs. Machine because he has so many jobs to do. His first one is collecting money, and that is actually all these jobs are very important, but collecting money is very important because that money is going to help you upgrade your weapons so that you succeed in later waves. Now collecting money is also important because you actually get health from collecting money, and this only works for the Scout. You notice that I have a crap load of health. By the way, look at that. Almost got hit by a crit rocket. I was really lucky. But you'll notice that I can get overhealed by collecting a whole bunch of money, and this only works for the Scout. So you might as well have the Scout in there collecting money, and he's somewhat safe. I wouldn't say he's completely safe, but he's somewhat safe because he can go in there, get the money, and as long as he's not the main focus of attention, as long as the robots are not targeting the Scout, he can go in there and do his other important job, which is marking targets for death. Enabling mini crits on giants is a very quick way to take giants out, and I think it's really important to do this because the longer these giants stay up, the longer they're outputting damage, and you don't want that. You want them down as fast as possible. Now there are two weapons you can actually use to mini crit with the Scout. You can use the Fan of War like this, and you can see Dubs here. He is actually using the Uber Canteens to make him safe so that he can make sure he can get in there and actually mark the target for death. It's a very smart strategy. The other strategy is to use the Sandman. The Sandman, after you upgrade it, can actually mini crit or mark targets for death. The only thing is you can only mark one target at a time, so you can't go around slapping all these robots and marking them all for death. You can only do one at a time, so make sure your team knows which one to focus. The Scout is also very useful for taking out snipers, taking out spies, and popping Uber medics. You might not be able to kill them. Sometimes, these Uber medics, they take a little chip damage and they actually pop instead of you killing them. But that's okay. If the Scout gets in there and pops the Ubers early, the Uber medics are really no longer a threat in the match. So you want to make sure if you're playing Scout and no one has popped the Ubers on these giants, make sure you get in there and pop those medics as soon as possible so that later on in the map, they are no longer a threat. So that is my tier list for Man vs. Machine. I hope this helps so it makes Man vs. Machine easier so that you all can get some bot killer weapons. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.